What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for, man, what a fantastic pay per view. The June 25th pay per view, AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that ever you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, this pay per view was way better than last year's pay-per-view. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to do what I always do, just talk about the things that really stuck out to me and, of course, what I see happening going forward. But I had the privilege last year to attend Forbidden Door here in Chicago at the United Center, and, man, this Forbidden Door this year in 2023 was better than last year's. I know I've seen a few people online were saying like, "Oh, the build was better last year." I have to disagree. This year's build for Forbidden Door was very good. It was very punctual, to the point. They weren't trying to drag everything in, and they weren't trying to rush everything. It was just a nice synergy. And I think what helped this year with this year's AEW Forbidden Door is the fact that you had AEW Collision debuting, so it somewhat tied into Forbidden Door and then everything else that's going to happen after Forbidden Door. But man, this was a fantastic pay-per-view. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun on my notes and everything, but man, this year's Forbidden Door was great. The matches, man, they were really good. The only match that kind of maybe they should have put it on earlier, was the Sting, Naito, Darby Allin versus Jericho, Suzuki, and Guevara match. Um, I don't know, it just something with that match. It just didn't mesh with the whole pay per view. It was kind of clunky. I don't know. I think especially when you have a match with Sting, I've noticed that it's actually good to have like a falls count anywhere match or a weapons match or some sort of like that with Sting, considering his age and everything. Yeah, that match just really, it was very clunky. Um, it did have a place on the card, but it was just very clunky, and maybe just the match type itself was, I don't know, just very clunky. Maybe they were rushing because of time. Because man, that Kenny Omega Osprey match, that was a fantastic match. Yet I do feel that match went, man, way over time. I was trying to find the words to explain, but yeah, that match went a little bit over what it should have been. I think if you take an extra, I don't want to say an extra, but if you cut that match by 10, 15 minutes, it would have been perfect. I think a few spots in that match were a little bit overkill, but for the most part, that was a great match. I believe after that match, I believe everything else after was kind of like restricted with time. But man, man, I enjoyed this pay per view. I enjoyed it. This was a wrestling pay per view. Um, this pay per view did a really good job of bringing in the established New Japan stars and actually having video packages, which it's ironic because the same people that were complaining about there were no video packages this year, now they're saying there was no build, which this year they actually did a lot of good things building these guys with video packages. So I mean, to each their own, but yeah, this was a fantastic pay per view. But let me get into the things that stood out to me on this Forbidden Door pay per view right off the bat. I have to address. It's not even an elephant in the room, man. It was, man, it was somewhat of a surprise. Yet when news broke, I believe a couple days ago, that the band Europe, their catalog was up for sale, and in that catalog is the Final Countdown song, which Bryan Danielson used in Ring of Honor before he went to WWE. And Bryan Danielson is the first person to come out. You have like this, was it ambient music or something like that, and plays. The crowd is going nuts. So Tony Khan got it up. I don't know if they're gonna use that going forward. Maybe Tony Khan did purchase the license or the song outright for Bryan Danielson to use it. That would be cool. That was, I think, outside of the Omega Danielson match or Danielson Ospreay match, I believe that is like the highlight of the night because when Danielson was on his way to AEW, everyone's like, "Oh man, it'd be cool if he had Final Countdown." He comes out and everything, and if you watch his debut, and you're like, "Man, it would have been dope if they would have had the Final Countdown 2 years ago." But it's like to each its own. But it was so cool seeing the song being played, and when it gets to the chorus, it's the final countdown, and the crowd singing. It's like, oh man, it brings back those Ring of Honor days with Bryan Danielson. But that was really cool. Again, the Will Ospreay Kenny Omega match. Their match at Wrestle Kingdom this past year was arguably match of the year. And somehow, with this match, they've put this match at Forbidden Door right next to that match they had at Wrestle Kingdom. This was a very physical, violent match. It felt like we weren't getting a Kenny Omega with the Elite. Like, we were getting the cleaner. He came out to his music. And this was a New Japan Pro Wrestling style match. This was not an AEW style match. This was a New Japan Pro Wrestling match. And these guys beat the hell out of each other. Of course, you had Don Callis come out with security. He got thrown out, and then he was able to come back. Which, that right there kind of like, it's like, why didn't the ref enforce him to leave and get some security to get him out? And why wasn't, when he was thrown out, security wasn't thrown out? So that was like a little thing that I was just like, that's kind of weird right there. But, man, he gave a screwdriver to Ospreay. Ospreay hit Kenny as he was attempting to do the one-winged angel. And one of the wildest kickouts. Ospreay hits him, performs the one-winged angel. The ref goes 1, and Kenny just pops up and fires up. And that crowd went crazy. After that moment, that's when the match really, like, just took off and everything. And that's what I mean when earlier I said that, you know, if you take off 10, 15 minutes before that kick out by Omega, you got a really solid match. I do feel that match went a little bit over, but man, that match was amazing. And, you know, the one count kick out, you know, they were both busted open. Ospreay, you know, he licked Omega's blood. Just, ugh, man, that was nasty. You know, the crowd was just chanting at him. Ospreay, you know, he took the Canadian flag and did a Shawn Michaels with it. If you know, you know. You know, the driver that he did on Kenny Omega, like, on his neck. Cool thing was, I want to say cool thing, but when you go back and watch, because it was so quickly, you know, Omega landed, like, this way. So, I mean, hopefully he didn't suffer anything severe or anything. I know those guys are going to be in an ice bath because, man, they did a number on themselves. But, man, I haven't seen a set of matches in 1 year that were this intense, I would say, since Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat in 1989. And I used that last year describing the Briscoes and FTR in their trilogy of tag team matches, which were brutal, in which, if you go back and watch my reviews on those matches, I said that was like a tag team version of Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair in 1989, you know, their trilogy of matches. And, man, Ospreay and, man, Omega, man. That's 2 matches. So my thing is, are we getting a third match at All In? That's my question. Are we getting a third match? We already got 2. Are we getting a third match at All in front of 70,000 people right now? Because they haven't announced any matches. So when they start announcing matches for All In, that 77 might go up to like 80, and depending on the matches that are announced, it might get even higher. But, are we going to get that third match? Because, what I saw from Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega tonight and what I saw at Wrestle Kingdom, like, it reminded me so much of Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat and their Trilogy of Matches in 1989. When they first their first match was at Chi-Town Rumble, then it was at Clash of Champions, and then their final match was at Wrestle War 89, which, coincidentally, this ties into Bryan Danielson. Their video package at Wrestle War 89 had Bryan Danielson's theme song, The Final Countdown by Europe. Go check it out. I think I posted on the House of Wrestling Twitter account the videos there with the package and everything, so it's kind of entwined with that. But yeah, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, they have 2 of the finest matches this year, and it's going to be hard for a set of wrestlers to top that. Mind you, we still have roughly 6 more months, so someone could top it. But yeah, those 2 matches are match of the year, and they beat the hell out of each other. And if there is a third match, I'm all for it. Hopefully they don't overdo it, because the one at Wrestle Kingdom, it was like the perfect time. It was their first time in, I believe they fought before. Give me, guys, comment below if you know when they fought before Wrestle Kingdom this year. So it was that anticipation. It's like, all right, cool. But this one, it did feel like if they took off at least 15 minutes of this match, would have been perfect. But overall, I enjoyed this match, man. It was when Kenny fired up and that back and forth, and man, so good. So good. I loved it. Then we go to something that was kind of alluded to going back to Double or Nothing in the lead up, and that is Jungle Boy Jack Perry finally turned heel. He lost to Sonata, and it was really cool how they played this, because Sonata, he goes to the back, and then Hook is helping Jack Perry, and they cut back to commentary, and you have Kevin Kelly. He's like, yeah, we're going to do, they were just trying to pass it to introduce the Japanese team. He's like, wait, what's going on here? And you see Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Hook. They turn around, and, Jack Perry raises Hook's arm and just clotheslines him. And Taz is like, what's going on here? And, Taz played it off really well, because he was at a loss for words, and he's like, you know what? He's got something coming for him. And Jungle Boy Jack Perry, you could tell he's mocking the crowd, doing, his thing like this. I would say, man, that heel turn was similar to Bayley's heel turn in WWE when she went from the hugger to when she cut all the inflatable things and the happy balloons and stuff like that, and she just snapped. Like, I would say Jungle Boy's heel turn is similar, like kind of similar to that one. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Jungle Boy, who he's going to line with, how he's going to go. Is he going to get a new entrance theme? It's going to be interesting how that plays out. Jungle Boy Hook should be interesting. Finally, Hook gets a mature feud with, one of the 4 pillars. Or let me rephrase that, not 4 pillars, one of the many pillars in AEW, which they should go by that. But yeah, I wasn't. Uh, I can't say I was surprised. I was somewhat shocked they would do it here, and the way they did it. I was anticipating, you know, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry to kind of like, frustrated and just start attacking Hook. He did it so slick and stealth that he just played it off, went up the ramp, and then clothesline. So it's like, hmm, that might be a foretelling of the type of heel we might get from Jungle Boy. And shout out to, oh man, I can't think of her name right now. Church of Chelsea. I can't remember her name. Forgive me, guys. She mentioned about his attire, and I responded. I was like, his attire, and mind you, he had like a more dark maroon red, and I'm like, that color scheme is in a very like color psychology. It's a very aggressive, intense color scheme. So it's like, like he was kind of foreshadowing there. So it was really cool to see that. So I don't know. Let's see what happens with Jungle Boy, and is he gonna be that stealth, methodical heel? Real interesting. I'm more interested in Jungle Boy Jack Perry's heel turn than I am with Sammy Guevara's face turn. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That's how I feel. I'm more interested in Jungle Boy's heel turn. Then the other thing that stood out to me was the commentary. Kevin Kelly, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz. These guys did a tremendous job tonight at Forbidden Door. There was a little nuggets that Kevin Kelly kept on throwing throughout the night. One that sticks out was Tony Schiavone was mentioning, what happened with Jungle Boy. And this was a few matches after Jungle Boy's match. And Kevin Kelly just subtly like, hey, is Taz okay? Like, man, it's just little things like that, man. They were doing, and the way they were complimenting each other's dialogue when they would break down a situation, and then the other announcer would come in. It's like, yeah, I seen this, and Kevin Kelly, man, there was a segment in the Elite Eddie Kingston Blackpool Combat Club match where Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, they were talking about one thing, and Kevin Kelly noticed something that they didn't mention, and he's like, man, guys, I noticed this, and it was just like they were covering everything. Man, kudos to that commentary team. That was a fantastic job. I haven't heard a commentary team that fluid since, I would say, WCW, when you had Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, Dusty Rhodes, and Mike Tenay. When you had those four guys on and mind you, they would have that four-man crew like a few, man, I don't think it was at Nitros. I think it was at pay-per-views. Yeah, it was at pay-per-views. So it was rare that you would, they bring Tenay in for a cruiserweight match or something like that, but it was just a fluidity that I haven't heard since Tony, Schiavone, Dusty Rhodes, Bobby Heenan, Mike Tenay, where it was just fluid, where people were they complimented each other. Like, this commentary team really made this pay-per-view because they told the story. Wrestling commentators are the what's the word I'm looking for? The voiceover, pretty much. That's not the word I'm thinking of. I'm brain locking right now. But they're what we want to find out, they're letting us know. And man, Tony Schiavone, Kevin Kelly, Taz, and Excalibur, they did a tremendous job, man. And I think outside of all the matches that would be talked about after this, coming out of Forbidden Door, I think the commentary team might be one thing that most people will like overlook. But I noticed, and I'm like, man, this was they made it so pleasant to watch this pay-per-view. And mind you, this was a 5-hour pay-per-view, and listening to them, I didn't feel exhausted watching this pay-per-view. They just the tempo, um, the the inflections at the right time, like everything was just love the synergy. Um, Again, like I said, Forbidden Door 2023 was better than Forbidden Door 2022. Mind you, I was at the first Forbidden Door, and I have to say this year's Forbidden Door surpassed last year's Forbidden Door. Last year's Forbidden Door, um, you can say that the first Forbidden Door was the cornerstone, and then all the Forbidden Doors afterward will be built off of that. And man, they built off of this uh, Forbidden Door, man. They built off of it, man. This was a fantastic show. This year, it was very physical, aggressive, and gritty. I noticed, like, last year's Forbidden Door, it was just a lot of ooh and ah and just, oh man, this is cool. And maybe it's because it was the first pay-per-view. It was just like, between New Japan and AEW, it's like, oh, okay, cool. But this year, it's like, okay, we gone through the introduction last year. Now let's get down to business. Last year was the appetizer. This year is the full course meal, and we got a meal this year. And yeah, I got to say this was better than last year, and I look forward to next year and how they're going to top this. Are we going to get another promotion added to this? I don't know. We'll see. Other things that stood out to me, and this is just pertains to the storylines coming out of this. CM Punk, he advanced in the Owen Hart tournament. He played this Toronto crowd the last 2 days at Collision, and Forbidden Door, they were booing him out the building. He played it up. And what was ironic about that was he was wearing a CM FTR shirt, which pays homage to Bret Hart, who is from Canada, yet while he was wearing this shirt, most of the people in Toronto were booing him. So that was pretty interesting. It was a dope match between Punk and Kojima. I loved it. I actually enjoy how CM Punk is wrestling. It feels like he got back in his groove. Of course, when he first came back, it was just him working back into, ring timing and everything. Of course, having 7 years off and everything. But now it just, man, it's like, man, he's not trying to overdo things, even if I don't think he did, but just, it's so smooth, man. It is so smooth how CM Punk is wrestling, and just how he's moving in the ring. And I think the best thing that they did was his first 2 matches were in multi-man tag matches, just to get him in the swing of things. And this was really good. Him and Kojima had nice chemistry and everything. So he advances in the Owen Hart tournament, and I believe he faces the winner of the Roderick Strong Samoa Joe match this Saturday on Collision. Ooh, that should be good, man. Oh man. From there, we did have a triple threat tease between the 3 champions, Orange Cassidy, Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. after the end of their 4-way match. All 3 men held up their titles, so we could be getting a triple threat match for all 3 titles, possibly at All In. Maybe. Let's see. Then you had the Eddie Kingston, John Moxley dilemma. They were team, it's ironic because they were a tag team that faced the Elite at Double or Nothing in 2021. And now Moxley is with the Blackpool Combat Club, and Eddie, he doesn't like Claudio, yet he doesn't like the Elite, yet he's aligned with the Elite. So there is a very interesting dynamic there with Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. I'm really interested to see how that plays out. Man, Eddie Kingston is like the perfect wrestler in AEW, that if you look at when he's come to AEW. He's had these stories that they're telling one story that is going in 3 different directions concurrently. And it's so amazing and cool, and he's the perfect guy for it. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. And of course, last but not least, this is a great main event between Okada and Bryan Danielson. I did not expect Bryan Danielson to make Okada tap, and the way he did. If you guys, it's probably on social media right now after you watch this review, go back and watch the submission hold that Danielson put Okada in to make him tap. That was creative. That was genius. And it was totally unexpected. We're probably going to get another rematch at some point. Could we get a rematch at All Out? Maybe. Not All Out. All In. I don't know why I say that. So that's going to be interesting. Also, they did mention that AEW is returning to Chicago August 30th for Dynamite and Rampage at Now Arena. And then September 2nd, they're going to have AEW Collision. And September 3rd, they're going to have All Out. So they're coming back to Chicago. That's Labor Day weekend. People are going to have fun that Saturday, that Sunday. There's going to be a ball. But man, I enjoyed this pay-per-view. It was a nice combination of enjoying professional wrestling and a few stories and twists and turns that were like, okay, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. So I enjoyed it. It was fun. I was looking forward to this match. Kenny Omega, Ospreay did not disappoint. And that's the other thing. With the exception of the Jericho, Sting, Suzuki, Guevara, Naito, Darby match, which was, like I said, it was just clunky. I love all the guys in the match, but it didn't flow. It was a little bit clunky. Outside of that, all of these matches, actually, they did deliver. CM Punk Kojima over-delivered. Orange Cassidy, Shibata, Garcia, and Zack Sabre Jr., that delivered. The Elites, Eddie Kingston, Blackpool Combat Club, Ishii, Umino, Takeshita, that delivered, man. That was great. Most of these matches delivered, and, for the hype that it had, it delivered. So, just looking forward to All In, All Out. Of course, we do have the Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up, so that's going to be interesting how they do that. But man, this was a fun wrestling show, and this event is the perfect event if you want to watch. Most people have this on social media, like, hey, if your friend hasn't watched wrestling in a while, what pay-per-view or match would you show them? This is the pay-per-view to watch them. Show them. This is wrestling. But man, this was fun. Man, I just look forward to the next, this week. Of course, with, look forward to Raw, NXT, Dynamite, Impact, Rampage, SmackDown, Collision, and all the various things that are going on. Of course, Stardom with, I'm surprised it wasn't mentioned on this show during the Willow Nightingale, Toni Storm match. Julia from Stardom issued a challenge and called out Willow Nightingale yesterday at Stardom. So let's just see how that plays out. But man, this is fun. Wrestling is fun right now. And like I said, man, let's have some fun. So that is my review for the June 25th pay-per-view, AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, let's have some fun with this wrestling this summer. Whew.